Hello and welcome to the open house on the Money Mile. I'm Vivek Law. As 2018 comes to an end, we wish you a very happy new year 2019. Well, it's been quite a year 2018, not a very good year for equities certainly. So many of you who bought mutual funds, equity mutual funds, probably didn't see very good returns. But then that's the nature of the game. Every year will be a different year, but the whole point, as we keep saying here on the Money Mile, is that you got to remain invested if you are investing in equities. But you also need to keep re-looking at your portfolio. You need to keep analyzing the schemes, and that's why we bring to you every week Surya Bhatia, who's a well-known certified financial planner and has founded the Money Mile with me. Today we are going to talk about what 2019 could mean for you. What do you need to do? What are the few tick boxes that you need to put in place as you sit down at the end of the calendar year and make your resolutions for 2019? Surya, clearly not a very great year 2018 when it came to equities. Didn't do very well at all our markets.
I think why even equities? I think you can count debt also in the same platform. I think other than the best performing asset class in this calendar year 18 actually has been bank fixed deposits. But then does it mean I need to go to only bank FDs in times to come? Is that the best instrument available? The answer is no. They are taxable. Yes, you do get a 7% short, plus minus 0.5% or a 1% depending on whether you are a senior citizen or otherwise. But they give me a guaranteed coupon rate, and that's exactly where the risk lies of my inflation risk. Because these assets are not able to give me a return which are inflation adjusted. Yes, this year, I myself say they have actually offered the best returns if I actually compare with other asset classes in the similar categories or otherwise also. If I compare debt and equity combined together, they have been the best from an Indian context. But will they remain so? The answer is no. So therefore, you need to look at beyond one calendar year and see what is the probability you have to make money in the longevity of your asset classes. So therefore, for anyone who is not into a tax bracket, or in a lower tax bracket, doesn't want to carry any risk to his portfolio, FDs are the instruments, but they don't provide you inflation adjusted returns at all. So you have to look beyond that domain. And while the year has not been good, Vivek, for equities, I think you will always have these years. And that's why it's precisely this reason we say that equities are meant to be percolated over a long period of time. You cannot look at a short period. At least 5 years or even more is the ideal horizon you have. And the reason we say this is because of these kind of years when markets may not as per your expectations and will be called as the year of investment and not the year of returns.
Most experts or analysis that is coming out and what we are reading, Surya, is indicating that 2019, while it will be a volatile year for the markets, because you've got this big elections coming in May, and there are a lot of concerns around whether the current government will romp home like the way they did in 2014. There are global factors at play, lots of volatility in global markets as well. But even then, most experts are saying 2019 will be better for equities in India than it was in 2018. Do you hold that view?
It's very hard to say, honestly. There is no reason why 2018 was bad. So if you go back a year, the same time, 2017 end, when we were talking about how the 18 would actually open up for you for the next 1 year, no one could have actually predicted that the year would not be a good year for both debt and equity. The oil kind of rose like from a $50 a barrel to $80 a barrel, and right now it's back to something similar levels. But in between the last 12 months, the oil has really kind of given a yo-yo, which actually led to huge inflation pressures on Indian context because we actually import 40% of our oil. So therefore, these things you cannot predict beyond a point. If you are true to your investment strategy, if we talk for our investors, our clients, and the readers and the people who are kind of listening to us, I think what really matters too is what is the intent of the saving which you plan to do. Is it meant for the next 19 year only? Don't you look at the period beyond that? Or do you have only 12-month cycle? The answer is no, which we always say that 1 year is not the period to look at equity as an asset class. Then I am not bothered. I am not interested in this because these are noises which will remain so. I'm saying even for a minute, to be a devil's advocate, I'm saying even if we believe that the expectation of the elections hold true to as per what we believe it should be, even then, can we control the global phenomena? Can we control what is happening in US and China? We cannot. That's something which is beyond anyone's mean. So it's good if you just cut out these noises and look at your longevity. If you do carry that 5-7 year of investment horizon, do stick to equities, do look at this as an opportunity for you to invest the money and create that corpus for yourself.
Surya, one of the reasons we tell people to go to mutual funds and invest is because there are experts out there who can manage your money. Don't try and do it yourself if you don't know it any better. But if we were to look at 2018, considering that the markets or the index didn't do very well, did you find good mutual fund schemes out there who did better than the index?
The answer is no.
No.
The answer is no. And the answer is no for a reason. You actually found that the index funds were the most superior performance across all asset classes in the equity space. And that's because of one simple reason, that when you look at and we have even spoken about this in our earlier shows, when we talk about the 30 stocks available in the index, in the BSE, there were only 5 or 6 stocks which actually performed very well. So for example, like an Infosys, like a Reliance Industries, so TCS, so these stocks really performed very well over the last calendar year, 2018. And if you look at the balance 25, 24 stocks available in the BSE 30, those stocks did not do well at all. On the contrary, most of them were actually in the negative territory. But those 5 stocks holding was 66% of the BSE. So therefore, the others who dropped could not lead to the dropping in the overall Sensex value, because the 66% weight with those 5 stocks carried just pulled its weight up to show that the index at the end of the year is closing a little bit positive. So therefore, if you look at an index fund, which typically is a mirror image of the BSE or a Nifty, they will have something similar performance. But if you look at any other fund, be it a large cap, multi-cap, mid-cap, typical performance at best would be something similar to a Nifty or a BSE. It was very hard for the fund to outperform the Sensex because you could not hold those 5 stocks only. And you have to hold other stocks which are actually beaten black and blue. So there are years when your fund will also not perform, and this is one of the years, but you have to understand the reason why this is actually happening. But is it going to happen going forward also? The answer, no one has it. But the probability is actually very, very low. You have to have a diversified portfolio to give you that alpha over a long period of time. But yes, to answer you, this year, I think index is the most superior performance.
What about in the mid-cap and small-cap space? Did the story play out the same way there, or were mutual fund schemes able to do better?
If you look at their respective indexes, I think the mid-caps and the performance were equally bad. I think on an average, you find that the 20% drop happened in the mid-cap space, around 25% drop happened in the small-cap space, which you can't even correlate when you actually see the large-cap performances, because that was actually 5% up if you look at the BSE. So 5% plus and minus 25%, there's a huge gap.
But how are the schemes able to do?
So schemes are something similar, because you don't feel too much of underperformance happening in the MF scheme vis-a-vis their respective indexes.
Okay.
But at the same time, there were a couple of schemes which came out, but then it doesn't mean that I need to be in those schemes itself. So you can actually say that the performance of the mid-cap categories to their respective benchmarks were something similar.
Okay. 2018 continued, I would say, to be the year for SIPs. Surya, we saw this trend emerging in the last 2-3 years, and 2018 continued to see strong SIP inflows, even though the markets weren't doing very well. Would you say that as an instrument, as an instrument which gives you the discipline to invest periodically, regularly, that is something people should look at even more strongly in 2019?
Absolutely. I think these are the period which could actually drive you to the fact that SIPs is one of the way where you can really help to multiply your money little at a faster pace. It can help you to grow your money, besides the advantage with an SIP offers of discipline, continuity, rupee cost averaging. We have all discussed about all this benefit which an SIP carries. But definitely these are the times when the real benefit of SIP comes out very strongly. So please continue with the SIPs. Don't stop them, because that's few of the instances we have been seeing of late. Don't stop that. On the contrary, if your cash flow permits you, you may even plan to increase your SIP book.
Okay, some questions coming in. Sahil Makkar has this question. He says, I'm 23 years old and he wants to do an SIP of 5,000 rupees every month. Which other schemes would you recommend for him?
Sahil, if you plan to do for long term, which I believe you should be at your age with not too much of responsibility, not too much of expense coming up in a big way, do plan to look for long term. If that's the way you plan to, do look at equity as an asset class where you should look at diversified. Start with a multi-cap fund. Start one SIP over there. So there are a couple of good options which you carry in that space. So Axis Focus 25 is one of the good funds which actually have done very well the last 1 year. But then when you say last 1 year they've done well, it's something similar to a benchmark return of giving a return of around 3.5 to 4%. So, but that's a very good return, and markets actually have been bleeding badly. So there are a couple of good options. But start a multi-cap strategy that should hold good for you, but it's meant for long term.
Here's a question from Saurav Biswas. He says, please review my portfolio. He has SBI Blue Chip, HDFC Mid Cap Opportunity, Kotak Select Focus, SBI Magnum Multicap and Parag Parikh Long Term Equity Fund.
So these are good funds you hold typically, but I can see that you are typically having more of a large cap biased portfolio. So from a large cap, you do have mid cap also, but from a large cap biased portfolio, you can increase your exposure to the mid cap and small cap. So to create one large cap, one multi cap, one mid cap, and I think that should be a good spread of the portfolio. The fund which you have are actually good funds, so you can hold on to the same.
Okay. Here's a question from Shantanu Sasmal. He says, I'm currently 30 years old. I'm investing in an SIP of 40,000 rupees per month for the next 5 years. And after that, I will require an SWP, that is Systematic Withdrawal Plan, of 30,000 rupees per month for my family. Please suggest an ideal fund for me.
See, at 40,000 rupees per month, which you are doing for a 5-year block, so principal saving of yours would be 24 odd lakhs. Assuming a 12% CAGR, you should be able to reach a number of around 33 lakhs. So which means you need to look at a more of a large cap bias fund. So large and mid cap category is a good category for you. But just be careful because you need to start an SWP immediately after the 5th year. And we say more than 5 years is a good period to look at equity asset class. So beyond 4 years, just take a watch of it, that how much the portfolio is performing, how the markets are, what are the trends looking like. Because if you want to cut down your equity exposure, that could be a good time to look at it. And when you want to start the SWP from the end of the 5th year, start of the 6th year, you can doing that. But one thing which you have not covered over here is that you have not included the inflation adjustment of the 30,000 rupees. This 30,000 rupees will actually last for you for a good number of years, provided the amount is stagnant and is not changing dynamically because of inflation. And if that's the case, you need to up your SIP, else this amount will be good enough to last for 25 years.
25 years.
Yep.
He can keep withdrawing 30,000.
That's right. But the principal will deplete for sure.
Of course, yeah.
But then 30,000 after 20 years, the value will not be even half of it.
That's right.
So you have to make sure you adjust your inflation adjustment over there.
Okay. Shlok Saxena has this question. I'm 21 years old and I want to start investing in the stock market with a view to plan for retirement. What do you recommend? I
think, Shlok, you should start a SIP in a mutual fund. Stay away from the stock market because you are very young. You have the whole life and career in front of you. So concentrate on that first. Investment is critical for you, helps you to create that corpus which you actually also want to create for your retirement needs. Start an SIP in a mutual fund. As I said earlier, you should actually create an SIP book for yourself in a multi-cap fund because you want to do a stock portfolio. Hence, I can assume that you are ready for a risk ability is there with you. So multi-cap is a good strategy to start for a long-term purpose.
Rathin Dev Sarma has this question. I wish to invest in SBI Nifty Index Fund through the SIP route. Is this a good decision? Can you suggest any other funds?
Yeah, it's a good fund. But the only one comment I want to make over here, Rathin, is that if you want to do an index fund purely based on performance of the last 1 year, don't do that. Otherwise, good fund, index fund typically performs well. But in case of developing countries, you always find over a long period of time that the multi-cap strategies always outperform the index. In case of tough, volatile times like this last calendar year, you find the large caps outshining. But if you look at a longish period of time, which your intention is, then multi-caps will actually outperform the large caps or the index fund. So instead, maybe you can have spread the money in 2 baskets, have one index fund and have one multi-cap strategy.
Okay. Here's a question from Parth Sonara, who says, I want to start an SIP in HDFC's Mid-Cap Opportunities Fund, but its AUM is one of the largest in the category. If I'm looking to stay invested for 30 odd years, is it better to avoid this? If so, what's the cutoff for recognizing a fund is too large for investment?
How do you recognize that the fund is large? So even if you say the AUM has become large, what is the criteria for you to say it's a large AUM or it's not a large AUM? I think it's more relative in numbers when you start comparing one fund with the other fund's AUM. I think you should not do that. While I understand and agree with you also to a large extent, the larger AUMs are very hard to handle and the fund are not very nimble footed. But What really matters to you is the performance. And if the performance is coming, why should I penalize and be harsh on the fund manager if he's being able to manage it well? HDFC is a classic example in this case for mid-cap opportunities, where that fund has done exceedingly well and has outperformed most of its peer group over a long period of time. 30 years is a good period, but also look at an alternative that in case you invest in a smaller fund and you hold for 30 years and that fund does well, which you want to, it will do well, then it becomes large. What will you do? Will you switch it over? Not because of a year, but because of performance? The answer is no. So therefore, stick to the fund. It's a good fund to hold on. Change the fund only when you see the performance dip happening.
Bishwa Pratap Singh has this question. I have some ongoing SIPs and some of the NAVs are at 52-week lows. Will it be a good decision to invest some surplus amount on such NAVs while continuing SIP? The simple answer is yes. But he has a specific question on one of his schemes, which is Motilal Oswal Multicap 35 Fund. He's in the regular plan, growth plan, and has an over 10-year horizon.
It's very, very interesting, this one, Vivek. The Biswa says this query when the NAV went down. So typically the NAV over the last month or so, if you look at Biswa, it's one of the top performing funds in this category in the multi-cap space. The fund took a beating, it went down, but when markets rose, it actually came back very strongly and came in the top quartile performers. It was actually in the bottom of the performance in the multi-cap space, but right now for the last 3 months average, it's actually in the top 10% of the performance category. That's exactly what can happen to any good performing scheme. So therefore, if you want to invest, I'm saying just go ahead and do that. But don't look at where you're coming from, that because it's a 52-week low, I want to invest. If you have surplus money, just don't try to time the market. If a large sum of money is available at you, just do a staggered purchase and invest in the fund which you want to invest. Otherwise, if it's a small amount of money, just invest the money, but stick for long term. So it's not the timing which is important. It's the time which you spend in the market which is really important for you.
Here's my favorite question, Surya, which is coming in from Radhika Kohli. She says, please recommend how to get rid of outstanding credit cards. And it's not my favorite because I have run up some high bills. I manage my credit card very well. I have an auto debit which goes every month, so I don't take credit beyond that. However, why I said it's interesting is because of her second question, which is, please provide advice on financial planning services as well. And I think since we are talking about the new year, 2019 coming up, let's twist this question around in a way that what is your recommendation that a household should look at? What are the 4 or 5 resolutions and action points that you would give to people in the coming new year?
I think I'll start with what Radhika. Radhika has mentioned, don't overspend. Don't think plastic money being plastic is easy to spend, which actually it is, and that's why you actually end up spending more than what your means are. You create an outstanding balance for yourself. And the credit cards charge you as high as 3% or if not more on a monthly basis, which translates to 36% on an annualized basis. No one can offer you this kind of returns for your portfolio, for your return. So first of all, for any investor, if you have outstanding debts, understand the kind of debt which you carry. Are they good loans, bad loans? Credit card loans, for example, comes in a bad loan category. Try to reduce that, pay it off. If you cannot, try to convert that loan from the credit card loan to maybe to a personal loan. Even that's not good, but in a relative comparative of the two, you find personal loans much cheaper in the borrowing cost versus the credit card loans. Credit card loan is a big no. So please see how you can mitigate and bring it down or transfer the loan to more saner numbers as far as the interest rate is concerned. Understand your cash flows before you spend the money. That's very important in today's time and age when everything is available on the social media platform, on the you can actually just click onto internet and buy everything today. So please be wary about that. Don't blow your money. It's all your hard-earned money, and if that's the money you will pay as on the interest cut, that's not what you expect or what you want to do with your money. So that's very important. Get yourself insured and insured well. If you have dependents on you, please make sure you have a life insurance, which typically is a term plan, which should be 7 to 8 times of your annual income. Also make sure that you have a health insurance in play. Even if your company or employer provides you a health insurance, it's always good to have your own personal health insurance policy. In India, the health inflation is on the highest side. If you look at the global phenomena also, last 2 years, the average health inflation has been more than 20% on a year-on-year basis. So please get yourself insured and insure yourself well. Also increase your insurance cover every few years. Lastly, understand your cash flows, please start saving. Start saving for yourself, for your family, for your well-beings, for your long term. Money can do only one thing. You can just spend it. You spend it now, you spend it 5 years, 10 years down the line, that's your call. But how you invest the money is something which is within your hands. So please spend wisely and save even more wisely.
All right, that's all the time we have in this edition of the Open House Year-Ender Special. New Year coming. Please make sure you put your resolutions down. Investing is not very difficult. We make a lot about it, but it's actually fairly simple. You just need to be disciplined. You need to put aside, save as much as you can. If you can save more than 30% of your total income, you're doing well. Make sure you invest it. It doesn't matter how much money you're investing, but invest whatever little that you are saving. And make sure that you do an SIP. That should be your aim and goal for 2019. Keep coming to the Money Mile, keep periodically reviewing through Surya your investments, and you will be absolutely fine and raring to go. Thank you very much for watching this from both Surya and me and the entire Money Mile team which puts together this show. Wish you a very happy new year.